Hi, this is Kirk from Ternpoint Solutions. In this video, we'll be looking at freshness rules. So freshness rules helps with the receipt and shipping of goods to make sure that if you're shipping something to a customer, that when it arrives at their door, that it actually meets their minimum freshness or shelf life. The same goes with the purchasing side of things. By setting up freshness rules, you can ensure that when you're receiving goods at the dock, that they actually meet your minimum specs that you've set up with your vendor as well. So let's jump in and look at freshness rules. The first thing we're going to do is look at freshness setup. So this is where we can specify based on the location code at what points in the process we're going to check for freshness rules. So you can see I have my different locations here, and then I have checks whether I want to check for freshness rules on picking, receiving, shipping, or on putaways as well. Different areas of the system I can check for freshness rules in the receiving or shipping process. Let's first look at the shipping process. So at the customer level, we'll see there is set up for our freshness dates. So let's open up our customer that we use quite often, Miranda Priestley here. And under the process area, you'll see there's a freshness date set up. And this is where we can specify, based on that customer and item combination, what are the minimum shelf life that the customer requires when that product reaches them. So the item we're going to look at today is this 46-ounce plain case of pickles. So when this item is received at the customer dock based on that requested delivery date, it needs to have 60 days of shelf life remaining in order for the customer to accept it. So this will help with returns and discounts and things like that, or problems with the customer, by ensuring that when the inventory is actually received by them, that it meets their specifications. So I already have a sales order set up for this customer. So let's go over to our sales orders. So under our sales orders, I've set up a sales order, and this location that I'm shipping from today is going to be a warehouse picking. But this will work on shipping directly from the sales order or shipping from the warehouse shipment, or work during that picking process as well. So you can see that it will work at each of those different types of warehouse setups. So for our customer, we have our item that we talked about before, our 46-ounce pickles. And if you remember, based on the requested delivery date that I've entered on the order, the system has calculated what the minimum expiration date on the item needs to be based on that requested delivery date plus that 60 days of shelf life. So what we're saying is the customers requested this item to be delivered on the 1st of October, and in order to meet their specifications, that item or the lot number that's being shipped to them needs to be a minimum of 11/30 as the expiration date. So anything before that would not be able to be shipped or picked. From the sales order, I've already created a warehouse shipment. So let's look at our warehouse shipment. Go over my more options here. I got our warehouse shipment lines. I've released the order, created a warehouse shipment. On the warehouse shipment, you'll see there's some new fields that have been added for overriding the freshness. So if you're trying to get rid of some near expiration inventory and the customer has actually agreed to take it outside of their specifications because they can use it within time, I can override the freshness if I have the permissions to do so. So in the setup, you can set up what users have the ability to override freshness. So from the warehouse shipment, I'm going to actually create a pick. So on my process, I'm going to create my pick. I'm going to leave all my defaults set as they are, and the pick has actually been created. So from the shipment, let's look at our pick lines and see what the system has actually suggested as the lot number to actually pick for this shipment. The system has actually picked a lot that actually suggested a lot that meets the customer specifications. But if I look at my available lots in the system, you can see there are two other older lots in the system, which neither one of those items meet specifications. So as part of the freshness rule setup, the pick is actually suggested as the first available lot number that meets the customer specifications. However, if the user overrides and actually selects an older lot number and the override is not selected, then it will error and prevent them from actually posting the pick. So there's a double check there at the time of registering the pick to make sure that that item actually meets the specification for the customer. Freshness rules can actually be used, as I mentioned, on sales orders, warehouse shipments, and/or picks. And it does actually help that this pick is actually suggested according to the customer specifications set up in the freshness rules. So let's look at our receiving process now. Okay, so I'm going to go over to my purchase orders here. I've set up a purchase order for us already for our Spice World vendor again. So on this purchase order for our Spice World vendor, we'll see that we have an item here for Parmesan cheese. So in the setup for the vendor, we've set up that there's a minimum 60 days of shelf life required when we're actually receiving the Parmesan cheese. And that ensures that we can actually use the product before it expires in one of our formulas. So on the purchase order, we have the override freshness here again, as we saw on the sales side, where if we decide to receive something maybe at a discounted price because we can use it within its shelf life, we can override the freshness at the purchase order level or at the warehouse receipt, depending on how we have our warehouse set up. On our line, I'll just look at the item tracking lines here. We have a lot specified as 11/18/23. Okay, so that's not within our freshness window. So the system should not let us post this receipt because the lot number does not meet the specifications. So let's go over, this is a warehouse receiving mandatory location. So let's look at our warehouse receipt. So on our warehouse receipt, we have not overridden the freshness, so this shouldn't allow us to actually post. So let's go ahead and try to post this receipt. I do get a message here saying that the expiration date on the item that I'm receiving is not within the freshness parameter, so it's not allowing me to receive. Okay, I can override the freshness, okay, but you'll see here that I'm not actually allowed to actually override freshness, so I'm not going to be able to receive this item. Okay, so that's how freshness can work for your business. It will help you in determining what items can be shipped to a customer and also prevent items being received if they're not within the expiration window that you've agreed to with your vendor. So this prevents returns, discounted items, unhappy customers. So if you're interested in how freshness rules can help your business, please reach out to us at info@ternpoint.solutions. Thank you.